this episode of Peephole Pictures, we're looking at Farewell Scarlet from 1975.
I bet you're all wondering why I call this meeting tonight.
To enjoy what has got to be the wackiest, the sexiest, the funniest, suspense-filled murder mystery since Sherlock Holmes stopped making house calls. It involves the kookiest mixed bag of jet-set characters ever lumped together, all revolving around a particularly curvy young lady named, what was her name?
Her name was Scarlet.
Farewell, Scarlet. Starring J.P. Paradine and introducing National Velvet. What secret and bizarre ritual drew these pleasure-seeking Sybarites to engage in a sexual ceremony of fun and games?
I, for one, am pretty happy with the amount of Chuck Vincent titles that we've been getting on Blu-ray recently. We got that Lucky Stiff and Bon Appetit from Quality X, which is very cool. Bon Appetit I watched earlier this year. We also got Heavy Load and Lecture from Command Cinema. And also from Command Cinema, we have today's featured review, Farewell Scarlet. Like I said, directed by Chuck Vincent, written by Chuck Vincent as well, co-written by Cecil Howard and James Vitos. And man, this is a cool movie. It's a great, enjoyable mystery comedy. We basically follow actually a pretty solid setup. We have this party going on, this orgy hosted by this chick Scarlet, played by Terry Hall. And so we have this first erotic scene, everything's great and all that, but there's a murder that happens, and of course everyone's blindfolded, so they're like, who the hell's doing this, man? From there, hired by Scarlet's aunt Olga, is Dexter Sleuth, played by J.P. Paradine. And from there, we follow Sleuth as he investigates the other members of the party who were there, trying to figure out what exactly is going on, why would they want Scarlet dead, who has right motivation, and from there it's a comedy, mystery kind of film. And man, I'm just really on board with more of Chuck Vincent's work that I've seen. This film really is not just solidifying it because I've seen much of his other work, but this is one of the solidifying factors that makes him one of the strongest filmmakers from this time, undoubtedly. Because the thing with Chuck Vincent as a filmmaker is that his films don't feel half-assed. They really feel like a lot of effort went into the performances, went into the locations as well. This film as well has some of his other ones I was talking about, I guess, previously, Roommates. They utilize a lot of locations and a lot of exterior locations too. There's a lot of sequences outside, and even in the interior, there's like a big kind of a theater auditorium that they use at one point. There's one of the sequences at the end where Terry Hall and Eric Edwards are having sex, and it's just really, you can tell it's kind of like probably a smaller room, but everything is made up so uniquely that it feels really distinct from the other locations in the film. Even the main kind of interiors at the actual orgy scene itself, I mean, that all looks great, man. I'm looking at a lot of the background stuff, and it all looks solid. And actually, it's great to get this on this Command Cinema Blu-ray, or Command Video Blu-ray, because it all is touched up really nicely. I mean, it all looks really spectacular. It's actually one of the strongest Blu-ray transfers that I've seen. I don't know if I own other Command Cinema Blu-rays. I actually have to look at that. I think they put out Foxtrot and Scoundrels, which I have both those. Which, to my knowledge, they put them out. Okay, yeah, so they put out Scoundrels and Foxtrot, Heavy Load and Lecture, which I just picked up. I don't own Firestorm, and I don't own Spitfire, but I do think I own Fantasex. I'm not totally sure. But either way, this is the first of their releases that I've actually looked into. And actually, funnily enough, with the other two titles, Scoundrels and Foxtrot, they were both written by Cecil Howard, aka Richard Winters, and he also wrote Heavy Load, which Chuck directed. So it's a great kind of to get some of them back, and actually we even have a lot of his recurring performers that come back into this. But the one of them who I didn't notice really at first, I had to look her up, was Chris Jordan, playing this character Sylvia, who is like a secretary to Dexter Sleuth, and she has this really thick kind of Brooklyn accent, and she's really great in the scenes that she's in. She's not in a whole lot of the film, but she really shines, and she was also in, from Chuck as well, Blue Summer, which was his kind of sex comedy, and she was also in Miss Barrington, which I haven't seen yet, but I know that she's in it. Then actually I have like Kim Pope as well in this, who's been in some of Chuck's films. Actually, I think she's in Heavy Load as well. She's also in Miss Barrington. Or Mrs. Barrington. And then funnily enough, actually, I was thinking because with Kim Pope and Eric Edwards being in this together, I was thinking back to Memories of Miss Aggie. I talked about it on the last episode, so it's kind of funny to see him back again. And the thing with this film, I mentioned that it's a comedy, and I will say that a lot of the comedy actually really works in this. And a big part of that is because of J.P. Paradine's performance as Dexter Sleuth. I mean, he's playing a Columbo-type character. He has like the whole get-up and all that, which is funny because I actually didn't even get the connection at first. I've never watched Columbo, but when looking it up, I've seen people making the comparison of sort of like an adult version of Columbo in a way. Also, a lot of comparisons to Clue, and I think that's mainly because of the whole aspect in a mansion, and then the fact that it keeps. What's interesting actually as well is that whenever they introduce another character, they actually go back to where they were during the orgy, and then when the scream is yelled out, or the scream is screamed out, we get their perspective on it, and that was a nice little touch. So I guess you can compare it to Clue in that way, where you're getting the different perspectives kind of in the same location, but this isn't like a one location kind of film like that. This is going out more with different interiors and exteriors, and doing more of the surroundings. And this is also, but it has that same kind of silly tone without being totally overbearing. Because what I'm talking about with Paradine's performance is that he's a really solid lead in this. And he didn't do a whole lot of films. I know he was in the Alice in Wonderland X-rated musical, which I need to rewatch because I don't remember him in the film, but I only ever saw that once, so I guess I can't really say. But and he's in a non-sex role as well. He's great doing his own thing, and especially whenever he's talking to. Whenever he's talking to Sylvia, they really have a great back and forth with each other, and it's not overbearing, but it's funny enough to be memorable. There's one of the funniest parts in the film comes at the end, when after they're reviewing all the evidence. And I won't give the punchline away, but she says something, and then he replies with something, and then she replies with something, and that whole exchange is just really funny, man. And even when it comes to the reveal of the film, he plays it up very well, and I'm glad that they didn't have it be an overtly kind of a really kind of big over-the-top comedy, because the comedy isn't completely consistent in that it's in every scene of the film. There are times in the film where it does slow down. It does play out closer to a traditional kind of mystery detective film. But when they do come, it does work for the most part. Like I was saying with the reveal is that when we actually get to the reveal of the film, the way that whole scene is handled is actually very funny. I really like Dexter's reaction to some of the information being revealed, and I won't give it away, but just when his reaction to some of the information that's coming out, it all works in a way where I think you could have even done a whole series with this character, because I think that he's charismatic enough to be able to hold the whole film on his own. And a big part of this too is that because you are dealing with so many, it's a solid cast as well: Eric Edwards, Darby Lloyd Rains, Roger Caine. So you have a lot of actually solid performers in this, but one of the funniest, I would say, who was actually cracking me up, is the character Sam Smutt, who is an adult film director. Well, I even say that, but I don't think he was. I don't even know if it was totally adult films, because there's this ridiculous scene played by Doug Wood, and there's this ridiculous scene when Dexter is trying to talk to him about if he had been involved with the murder. And they keep cutting to what he's watching on the screen. It was cracking me up because he was talking about, we got to make cuts here. We got to get rid of this shot here. The shot's too long, and it's just like one shot, and it's these two people just like shoving food in each other's faces. It's like, I don't know if that's intentional or not when he's talking about making the cuts, and there are no cuts. But it's like, what kind of movie is this dude making? But then one of the funnier scenes in the movie is when he is actually directing this love sequence, and he's just yelling at them. It reminded me of Jamie Gillis in Blonde Ambition, when he's trying to direct them but he's getting so frustrated. Here he's yelling just real kind of obscenities at these people, and you have just this ridiculous kind of menage a trois. You have Oh, who was it? You have Steve Lark in the film, who's wearing this ridiculous Groucho Marx mustache and glasses, and he had like some like plastic stuff on his face. I don't know what that was about, man. I should have made a closer look at that, but that was kind of strange. But that whole scene is actually pretty funny. They're overacting in this ridiculous kind of love scene. Makes this great kind of three-way sequence between Steve Lark, C.J. Lang, and Terry Hall, but it all works really well. And actually, speaking of actors, it's Chuck Vincent does have he has a couple small roles in the film. Actually, has one of the plays an old lady at one scene who actually has a pretty funny payoff. A lot of the there's like a good running joke in the film where anytime the killer is trying to go after Dexter, somebody gets in the way or something bad happens. So like he's trying to shoot him, people are getting in the way, and that's one of the funnier parts of the movie. One of the more consistently kind of funny gags that run through. So with the comedy, it mostly works. I would say the only scene that didn't totally work for me in it so that it went a little bit sillier and a little bit longer than I really was into was there's a play being done, and it's Kim Pope, Olivia Richards, and Michael Thorpe, and it's this like Nazi kind of play where she's like instructing them, and they're putting on these ridiculous German accents, and I think the imagery is more interesting than the actual comedy of it, because they're having sex, this big like swastika behind them, and they're all like dressed up, and the idea itself is funny, but I do think that scene is the only one that really does go on for a little bit long, because when it comes to the comedy as well, so really a lot of the dialogue and a lot of the reactions that I found, and the acting as well, I find so funny. Like there's just one scene involving, I forgot who the actor was, I do apologize, but he's wearing this ridiculously large coat, and he's talking to Dexter, and Dexter's like, he says something like, oh, have you seen Sylvia anywhere? And he's like, oh, I haven't seen her anywhere. And it's this giant coat that he's wearing, and he takes the coat off, and there she is underneath it, and it's a quick kind of sight gag that I'm glad they didn't overstay. Because I remember when I was talking about Stud Hunters, there was that gag early on that about the guy in the hot tub that I thought just would have been a lot better for the film if they didn't do an entire sex scene right there, if they had just had it be a visual gag. And that's what I'm saying before, that I think Chuck Vincent has such an eye for these sort of things. He's able to construct a really strong, really strongly paced film, and a really strong narrative as well. And when I say a strong narrative, I mean the fact that it's consistently interesting, even if the script itself does kind of flutter at times, or sputter, I should say, not exactly flutter, but because, if you're watching this film for the mystery aspect of it, I'm watching this and it's not a case where there's gradual kind of evidence, there's gradual kind of mysteries, the layers being unfolded to reveal something, which is fine for this kind of film, because I think everything else is so strong with it, but really it does become, you're just going from one actor to the other who's telling their story, but they're all interesting and they're all unique in their own right. What I'm saying before is that you have the different kind of aspects. You have, like a movie set, and you have like a theater production, you have, this I forgot who it was that was like, I don't even know what they were doing. They had like this like radio station, and they were like asking questions, and I don't totally understand what that was all about, but you can definitely see, just in really at least any of Chuck's work that I've seen, him being able to kind of go out and scout these different locations, this is a staggering amount. There's a decent amount of people in this film, man. Like I was saying before, if you have like, Jimmy Paradine and Kim Pope, Roger Caine, Bob Stevens in the film. It's a solid cast overall, and actually, Cecil Howard plays, I think he has a cameo in the film as well. Plays like one or two roles, I think, and there's a great whole bit with the, there's like some political intrigue going on, and how that character might have had a motive behind it. So it all kind of works together really well. And even early on, it starts off strong, because there's a great line of dialogue when they're talking about, oh, gonna have blindfolds, and then whoever is, we're not gonna know who we're with, and somebody asks, how do we know who we're gonna be with? And then I forgot who was a reply, but there's like, that's the game, stupid. And the way he says it was great. And there's this great part where two of the actors they're walking around, and they go to put each other's hands on their chest, and they realize they're both dudes. They don't even say anything. They're just like, ugh, and then they walk away. It's hilarious, man. Just that's the what I'm talking about, is how Chuck is able to work so well with these actors. Not just in this, but I'm talking about before, like roommates and stuff. How he's able to get really strong performances out of them, and with Chuck being gay, him having a stronger, a more kind of gentler and a more romantic kind of view of some of the women relationships in this film. There was one of the love sequences in the film which I thought was really strong in particular, and it was between Jennifer Jordan and Katie Mara, and which just starts off comedic. It starts off like kind of big and ridiculous, but then it gets very intimate. And I don't mean intimate just like sexually. I mean intimate in a way where it has this really solid kind of mood lighting. There's like the way that he photographs these women, really kind of like panning the camera across their bodies, not in a way where it's just totally, where it's not exclusively just out of lust, but also this sort of loving way where you know that Chuck really likes these performers and likes these actresses and really has respect for them. And while you can have these sequences, like I'm saying before, where you have these comedic kind of like love sequences and all that, where someone's got a Groucho Marx mustache and they're playing it up for the camera and all that. It feels very very intimate in that regard. And it feels very loving, I guess this is technically called Cecil Howard's Farewell Starlet, so which is a little disappointing on the Blu-ray that there are no features on this. There's no real there's not a commentary and anything like that, because when it comes to the special features on this, it has the new 4K scan and restoration, original mono audio, which actually sounded pretty fine to me. I was talking about with Midnight Desires, from what I can remember. I think it was one of them where I remember the audio being really odd at like one point, where I think it was the mono was kind of messing up. We have our archival image gallery, and it's actually nice because this image gallery is not just screenshots from the film. Like I've had that problem with some other releases where it just seems like just screenshots from the film, but it is actually either newspaper clippings or actual kind of production stills and all that, and the subtitles, and the Blu-ray is region free. And on the inside as well, the alternative artwork is all these different kind of news clippings and all that. And I really love the actual poster of this film as well. The the question mark that has everybody's faces in it reminds me of like The Last of Sheila. That kind of artwork, by having this central kind of a question mark in the taking up as much space as everything else. But inside it comes with a poster as well of just the main kind of artwork of the film, and then also a booklet that is strictly just an image gallery. There's no essays in this or anything like that, but it is really nice to see the different production stills on this, the different newspaper clippings, some set photos, the different kind of releases of this film. And interestingly enough, with this previous release, is that, so this originally was put out by Command Video, but then also what I was trying to look up was this Cecil vision, or Cecil vision. I never know if I'm saying it right. Is it Cecil or Cecil? I think I've been calling it Cecil Be Demented, but I don't think actually that what it actually is. Maybe it's Cecil. Either way, yeah, I was trying to look this up because originally it was put out by Command Video and Cecil Vision, and I'm just assuming that was his line of adult titles that he was putting out on VHS. I tried to do some research on it, and I was just not coming up with anything. I kept finding like a little bit of it here and there, but nothing specific. So I mean, that's just a total assumption. Because I also looked at, he put out like they put out like Firestorm as well, which is also Cecil Howard film, so that's just an assumption. I really can't even find photos of it besides just in here, so I'm gonna actually be curious to look at the other Command Cinema Blu-rays that I own, or Command Video Blu-rays I own, because I wonder if they have anything in there as well in terms of relating to that line of tapes. And then briefly, going back before to some of the running jokes as well. There's also a great running joke early on, or that starts off early on, where anytime they say Scarlet's name, there's actually like lightning that goes off, to the point where it doesn't even totally make sense, because they're sitting in Sam Smutt's kind of editing room, or his room where you view the dailies and all that, and then like the color in the room changes because of the thunder and lightning. Like that's pretty funny. They actually kept that up throughout the film, and the fact that any time Dexter goes to anybody, it only takes about 2 seconds for him to automatically assume that it's them. I mean, they never really overstate it, but you really get the idea in the sense, especially when it comes to the ending, where he's really not the best detective. He's very clumsy and doesn't totally have a lead on a lot of it, but he's still so enjoyable and charismatic throughout the film that you're always on his side, and you're always If it was a lesser actor who was trying to play it up more, was trying to be something kind of bigger, it might not have worked as well. But I really did like this film, man. I mean, the more of Chuck Vincent's work that I see that's getting put out on Blu-ray, the more that I'm really enjoying him as a filmmaker. The comedy is solid. There's a decent amount of locations. There's a great cast behind this. I mean, I don't know, man. I really like this film. This is, like I said, the first title that I've opened from Command Video, and actually I see on the disc as well, it says Cecil Vision, so I suppose that is still a thing, unless they're both the same thing, just different names. I don't know. I have to look more into that, because I'm not going to do that while I'm trying to record this right now. But either way, I definitely would recommend this title. I had a lot of fun with it. The comedy works. The love sequences are very well shot. I mean, it's Chuck Vincent. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants in frame. It all looks good, man. I really like this film. This is definitely one of the more solid recent titles from Melocene, or at least from Melocene's partner label, I should say. So, yeah, that's it. That's Farewell Scarlet. Really enjoyed this one. Check it out, and that's all I got. So thank you for listening to another episode, and until next time.